If you've been involved in Google Ads for any number of years, you would know that over the last 2 years, we have seen the most radical changes in the way that the platform operates. And the big reason for this is because the very nature of search and how people search is changing. And a lot of this has got to do with the introduction of a lot more accessible AI tools like ChatGPT. Now, while I do think that roles like me and roles like you as Google Ads specialists and business owners who are running Google Ads will still exist in the future, what their tasks will be very, very different. And that's why I wanted to bring in Mike Rhodes. And he's been on my channel for 3 times now. And he is a forefront leader in how Google Ads specialists and business owners can leverage AI so that they can automate, get better reporting, and make sure that they future-proof themselves for the future. And that's why I'm super, super excited to have this conversation with Mike Rhodes. All right, welcome back. And I'm really, really happy to introduce, not for the first, not for the second, but for the third time on channel, Mike Rhodes. So an absolute pleasure to have you here. And we're going to be talking all about AI agents and moving from clicks through to AI agents. And I believe you've got a world exclusive. You're going to be sharing your new framework right here on the channel.
Indeed. I thought, hey, we need a framework. We need something, because if you're listening to this and you don't have a picture in front of you, it needs to be simple enough to follow on. And I like simple. So yes, I've put together that. And this is the first time I'm sharing it with you. How fun.
Great. And look, for anyone either watching or seeing listening to the show of this, if you go down into the description of the show notes, and we're going to have links on where you can actually see the visualization of what we're talking about here, and you can get the free resources. So Mike, why don't I hand it over to you, and you take us through the framework that you've created. I'll jump in and ask you some questions and clarifying questions as we go through.
That'd be great. Yeah, just a bit of banter, because I have never presented this, so it's not like it's a set thing. It's not like I know what I'm doing. So seven levels basically to this framework. They get us all the way from the old days when we used to do things very manually, all the way up to the last level, which really doesn't exist yet. But I just want to paint a picture of where we're probably heading into this AI-driven future. So way back in the day, old blokes like us and people that were doing Google AdWords, as it was back then, we used to spend a couple of days a week going into Ads Editor and filtering by placement and position. Remember, average position. And if it's a low position but it's doing well, then we'll increase the bids 5%. It was such a waste of time, but that's how you did things back in 2008. And we were button clickers. And I call it button clicker because that was the name. When photography came in, that was the derisive name that artists gave to photographers back in the day. Oh, you were just a button clicker. You're just going to press this button and take a photograph. How boring. Like, you should sit there and paint for weeks. That's the way to capture this scene. Obviously, that went away. 2011, Google introduced automated rules. And for the first time, we could take those systems and SOPs that we have and turn them into a series of if this, then that rules. And that was great. Somewhat limited, looking back. Like, you could only have these things run daily, weekly, monthly. You couldn't run them more often than daily. But hey, that was great back then. And there were a few things that they couldn't do, but you could pause and enable keywords, pause and enable campaigns. I remember talking to someone way back in the day, and they actually had somebody coming into the office at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning to go in and pause all of their campaigns, and then somebody else would come in on a Monday and enable all their campaigns again. It's like, let me introduce you to rules. Let me just save you that hassle.
Blow your mind.
And many people still use them. I mean, there are some great sort of safeguards that you can build very easily. You know, if the CPA suddenly rockets, you can shut down that ad group or shut down that campaign for the time being, just until somebody gets back in and can check what's going on. So that's your rule designer. That's level 1. Level 0 was button clicker. Level 1, rule designer. And then we obviously we've got to talk about Google's AI. So before we talk about any AI that we might add to this from externally, Google obviously have been an AI first company. When did Sundar announce that? 2015? We are now an AI first company. I think it was Google Next or Google Cloud or one of those. 2015. It's a long time that they have been an AI first company. I mean, what's his name? Andrew Ng, the smartest bloke that nobody's ever heard of, the guy that founded Coursera. He was the guy that introduced AI to Google back in 2010 when AI was not a thing, you know, and then went on to Baidu and then started Coursera, now runs deep learning, I think. Amazing bloke.
And that's the thing where I just think people, you know, when ChatGPT launched, everyone, I'm sure you got it as well, is, you know, this has been the death of Google Ads. And the thing that I kept reminding people is this hasn't come as a shock to Google. Like, they've been planning for this, and knowing that this is happening for a long time, and they've actually been part of, they're already incorporating a lot of, I think there's a lot more AI that's been incorporated in Google Ads than what people realize. Hello there, and I hope you're enjoying my latest interview. I just wanted to quickly let you know that all of these interviews are sponsored by my paid Google Ads community, which is called the Google Ads Mastery Community. I set this community up for one clear purpose, and that is so that I could provide people with direct Google Ads support. And we do this in three main ways. Firstly, we run weekly live calls, and these are live calls that are run in all different time zones so that we can get the support to you. And it's where you can actually ask myself and also highly skilled members of my Define Digital Academy team direct questions about your Google Ads campaigns. We then also run monthly masterclasses, and these are in-depth teachings for what you need for success with Google Ads. And they don't only cover things inside the Google Ads dashboard, we also cover specific training around things like offline conversions and how to increase the performance of your landing pages. All the important things you need for true success with Google Ads. And above all else, we've got our Google Ads community feed. And this is where you can join well over 300 other like-minded professionals like you. And we've got Google Ads specialists, agency owners, and also direct business owners who are there supporting and helping each other with how to see the best success with Google Ads throughout the year. And the best thing about this community is that it's all at a really low price, because you can get full access for less than the price of a cup of coffee every day. And that's why I set up this community, is so that you can get tailored Google Ads support for a very low price. Right now, we're going to get right back into the interview, but if you'd like to find out more information about how you could join, and plus also get a lifetime discount to join my Google Ads Mastery community, just follow the link in the description below.
Oh, it's in every product, right? It's in YouTube, it's in Maps. Proper AI, not generative AI and making a little gibbly doll of yourself, but proper AI has been around for a very long time. Google invented the technology behind ChatGPT, the T in ChatGPT is Google's technology, but they were just either slow or cautious to roll that out because they've got billions of users, whereas ChatGPT, young, small company, doesn't matter if we offend a few people, not many people are using it, and then actually 100 million people are using it a few days later. So yes, I think that took everybody by surprise. Just that was the moment when the world woke up to AI. But still, many people are not using AI inside or for many of their tasks. They're not using it for data analysis that we were chatting about before we started recording, and all of these other uses, which we'll get to. But Google obviously has been using AI for a long, long time. It's built into the platform in terms of them understanding how much your bids should be set at in terms of audience targeting, all of that stuff. So I don't remember when this rolled out, but moving to target CPA and target ROAS. And back in the day, we had, what did we have? We had two, didn't we? We had target CPA and max CPA.
Yes.
Way back in the day. Like, I'm aiming for this, but do not go above this.
Yeah.
And so we then became target setters of knowing what I know about the business and knowing what we see about results. These are the targets I want you to try and hit, please, machine. And there were lots of arguments back in the day about how well Google would do that.
Yeah.
And I would often argue that actually it's in Google's best interest to hit the target that you set. They're not going to give it to you cheaper. They're very good at not giving you something cheaper than they need to. But if they charge you more than you want to pay, you're going to reduce spend. You're going to stop paying.
Yeah.
If you can't hit the results, you're going to move your money elsewhere. And Meta had a ripper 5 years through that period.
Yeah.
And then we move on to scripts. So level 3 then is script designer, because rules were great and Google's AI was great, but this community of ours, we're all control freaks, let's face it.
Yeah.
And we wanted more control and keep an eye on the AI. We want to be able to control it. We want to be able to nudge it. We certainly want to know when it runs off the rails and does stuff that we didn't ask for. And scripts are similar to automated rules. There's a little bit more of a learning curve to set them up, but there's just so much more power that you then have available, and not just to monitor. So I have this framework again for scripts. It's also on the site. I'll give you the link later so you can chuck it in the show notes, but I call it my 4 C's. So there's like 4 levels of scripts: checks, chart, change, and cognition. So just running through those very quickly. Checks are very similar to rules. We can just quickly check, did impressions fall off a cliff last night? Is CPA going crazy and we're spending too much? In which case, maybe do something, or alert me. At a very minimum, just send me an email, pop a message in Slack, do something to alert me, add a label to that campaign to tell a human to go look at it. And next we had chart, and that was all about getting data out of the machine, usually into Google Sheets, because now we could do more stuff with it. And I have loved for years building stuff that you just can't do in the Google Ads UI and building tools around that. Then changes. So most of my scripts do not do this because I don't want people accidentally making changes to an account. But again, if this, then that. If spend was twice my daily budget for a particular campaign, and remember, Google can spend much more than your campaign on occasion, but if it spends more than double, pause that campaign again until a human can go look at it. So I've got free scripts for each of these 4 levels on the site if people want to, if they haven't played with scripts yet and they want to go play. And for really, really, really early people, I know Jill Saskin-Gales was a guest on your pod a few weeks ago. When we spoke at the end of last year, she's like, I've got a confession, Mike. I've never used scripts. I used to work at Google and I'm still scared of scripts. Well, that was 6 months ago. So I created a page called Scary so that scripts are never scary for anybody ever again. Like 14 minutes it'll take you to go through and you start to understand, oh, okay, this is what's possible with scripts. Well, they're not really scary anymore, are they?
No.
I get it. And so just some very, very basic things that you can do. So if you've never used scripts before, go to Scary. If you have used scripts and want to explore them a bit more, go to the 4Cs page. That'll walk you through the 4Cs. That last level is cognition. And that's where we start to add a little bit of intelligence to our scripts with the power of a large language model like OpenAI, Claude, or Gemini, or whichever one you want to bring to the table.
And that's where, so the first, button clicker, rule designer, target setter, I think most Google Ads people who would be listening to this or business owners, there's no one really at the 0 level. You've got the people who are now we get into when you get into script designer, where they've either haven't used them, starting to use them, and then here this is obviously people who are starting to create some little things extra from there as well. So in the script designer, so would you say that this is probably, if you're unsure of this whole automation thing, this would be the place to start? Don't create your own scripts. Just use some of your scripts, put them in your account, have a look, see what happens, and then just start to get the benefits. So I think for me, that's where people should start this whole AI journey for them.
Absolutely. If you can copy and paste, you can use scripts. I think that's what most people don't realize. I was on a call the other night and the guy said, look, I can't think of anything smarter that hasn't been done before than you or Fred or Nils. There's a whole community of people writing scripts. And there's a ton of those scripts that are freely available. Francesco, I saw on LinkedIn last night, was giving away 7 scripts. They're really good. They're all free. You got to sign up for his newsletter to get them, but okay, throw an email address at someone and then you copy, paste those into your account and they run. Now, some people are a bit scared of doing that, but what if it does this? What if it makes changes? Okay, copy it into OpenAI first, chuck it into ChatGPT and say, if I run this script, is it going to change anything in my account? Is it going to do anything that nobody's told me about? It knows enough about code, clearly at this point, to be able to check that before you run it in your account. And there's loads of free scripts available. Again, Nils, Fred, Search Engine Land always has some. I've got a whole bunch. There's a bunch of people out there that have those. That's a great place to start.
Okay, so we're looking at script designer and I'm looking at the, so I'm cheating here. I'm not just guessing what your next level is. The next level is going up into Insight Storyteller. Before we get into there, because that's I think a place where we will probably spend a bit of time in, but is there anything actually you need to say about script designers? I mean, apart from just start to use them, for you, scripts reporting and not making any changes inside of a Google Ads account. So for scripts that make a change inside of a Google Ads account, do you have that further up the train or that's still within the script designer level?
Still within scripts, but within scripts, I have those 4 levels and I have chart before change for a reason. So I have this thing, I don't know where I got this from, but I have this sort of picture in my head that I've been teaching for years now. So the adjacent possible. So many people have probably heard of this, but the picture I have in my head for this, the mental model, is a haunted house. And so whether it's scripts for the first time, it's like you're standing outside this haunted house and it looks really scary and you walk in through the front door and you're in room 1. And let's say there's a few Lego pieces on the floor and you start to play with these Lego pieces and you start to put them together. And, okay, I understand what these things do now. And once you understand it, you look up and there are 3 doors that lead out of this room into the next room. And you pick a door, you pick a direction, and you go into the next room. And in the next room, there are some new skills that you learn, some new Lego pieces lying around the floor, and you learn how to use those. And then all of a sudden, 3 doors appear, and you go to the next room. By going step by step through this haunted house, you can't jump to room 20 out the back corner of the house somewhere. You have to get there by going through these rooms, iteratively building up these new skills. And as you build new skills, you go, oh, wow, well, if this is possible, and then you get more ideas, but you have to go through, you can't jump levels. And so the first thing is just, taking other people's scripts, pasting them in your account, running that, and going, oh, wow, okay, well, that was easy. So if I could do this, maybe I don't want an alert when this thing has doubled or when all my search terms have a CPA of over 100. I want to know when the CPA is over 10. So you start to adjust those scripts to your needs. And now you're in that sort of next level. And then ultimately, if you decide that this is of interest to you, it's an area that you want to spend more time in, you end up probably using AI because you don't need to learn to code anymore, using AI to write scripts for you for your exact needs, but you don't need to start there. And making changes definitely comes a little bit later because you shouldn't be trying to write a script that makes changes before you've gone through those earlier stages. That's kind of a room 5, room 6 thing. It's a little bit further on. Could get a bit dangerous if we don't really understand what we're doing. So you get there through doing the other stuff, and now you understand it more. And now I can see the use case, and now I know how to put some safeguards in place to make sure that this thing doesn't blow up my account. It doesn't delete all of my keywords, and it doesn't triple all of my bids, if that makes sense.
And okay, so we've gone through the scripts. Now, when we get into Insight Storyteller, this is, and look, I'll be, one of the reason I've invited you back on is because this is an area where I'm at the moment. Full disclosure as well, I'm actually going through your course at the moment as well. And that's just a core belief that I think any business owner who's running their own Google Ads or any Google Ads freelancer or what's people working in an agency, now's the time that you need to be paying attention to this and you need to be upskilling in these areas. So so obviously really, really appreciative for guys like you who have really been forging the way in this. And I think I was just talking just before we got offline, just from some simple cues that you gave me in the start of the course, I now pulled out like a full analysis and full website reviews just from doing what we're talking about now is crafting narratives from AO Insights. Now, I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but one of the biggest things that I've picked up from you so far is just actually getting ChatGPT to write the prompt that you want it to do. And it seems simple. I've done that 3 times since the first training course. And it's given me, it's written a full new website for me, done a full new data analysis, it's quite a technical data analysis. And then I've also just created new scripts for my content, just that are more detailed, more nuanced, purely just asking, I was using ChatGPT, purely just asking it, this is what I want you to do. Can you write a prompt to complete this task?
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
I've just thought of a way of explaining this that I haven't used before, but maybe it helps, in that you've hired a bunch of smart people and we have this lack of hubris sometimes, I think, a bit of ego maybe, where especially with AI, because it sort of isn't a person, right? Where we tell it what to do. That's like hiring all these smart people and then saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you don't know what they're able to do. So instead of saying, hey, go do this thing. Instead, if you ask them, hey, tell me all the things that you can do, or in regards to this little project, how might you be able to help us achieve this goal that we want to achieve? And you suddenly learn all these amazing skills and capabilities that they have and all the stuff that they can bring to the table to help you achieve your goals. So the simple way to remember this is just, instead of you prompting the AI, have the AI prompt you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you just say I'm trying to do this thing. I don't really know what I'm doing. I need your help, but please ask me all the questions that you need to ask me in order to be able to complete, here's the goal, and have it prompt you. And it is so eye-opening.
And that's what amazed me too. I asked it and then it came back and goes, can you give me this extra information? So that I had to upload some extra data reports that we had. And then it went away and did it. And even that just alone, I think if people could just take that one from this video, it's already going to open up their doors, as you're saying, to get them into that, feel more comfortable about how they can use it. Because I think for me, where this whole AI, whatever we want to call it, is happening now, it's purely about leverage. And where I go with that is now is I think, agencies that have 50 staff could probably operate on 10 staff and still service the main clients, or a freelancer that can only do 10 clients could probably scale up to 100 clients, 50 or 100 clients by using these tools. And that's the difference.
I was chatting to my wife the other night. I'm just like, last week I did 3 one-hour talks that I'd never given before. So I had to design those, create all the slides for them, and I launched 2 new programs. From Ads to AI, my new community. I swore I'd never do a community again, but I've got so many things I want to talk about. I launched that, as well as an elite level mastermind. I did all of that last week, and I was chatting to Gab at dinner, and you know what? Back in the day, when I had a team, I had an amazing marketing manager who was brilliant with words, had a great graphic designer who could create anything, And we had a web designer who was in the Philippines who would take this and bolt it all together. Collectively, I think probably paying that's of the order of 15 grand a month for those 3 talented individuals.
Yeah.
And to do all of that stuff that I did last week would probably have taken a month, somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks, depending on how much time people spend. And I did all of that, but I'm a little lonesome in a few days, as well as doing all that other stuff. The leverage is absolutely crazy once you start, but that's because I've worked my way to, I don't know, room 20, room 30 in the haunted house. But if you're starting at room 1 and you're like, I want to do that, you don't get to jump straight to room 30. You've got to work your way through there. So I'll give you 2 concrete examples just to help the listener. 2 years ago, I was selling a workshop teaching people how to use scripts and Google Sheets. And I needed a sales page. And I've always been pretty terrible at copy. I know I wrote a book, but I'm pretty terrible when it comes to like, I've got to get this stuff out of my head. I was walking, using the OpenAI app. Oh, no, I might have been sitting at my desk for this one. And I said, I need to write a sales page. Ask me all the questions. It had 14 questions that it needed answers to. And I'm like, okay, just ask me them one at a time and I'll answer them. And then when you're satisfied with the answer, ask me the next question. So that took half an hour. Boom, 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 boom. And then it spat out the most incredible sales page, which was still my creation because I've nudged it in the right direction. And obviously I didn't just copy paste that straight into WordPress or whatever it was. I then went through that and tweaked it. But now that it's got all of that context loaded in its memory, as you were, then, well, okay, can you now write me 3 LinkedIn posts? Can you give me 5 Facebook ad hooks? Can you write the YouTube scripts? Can you write the questions for the application process that we're going to put on the next stage of it? And all of that. So it took an hour end to end. And I ended up just putting that sales page in a Google Doc and sold out the workshop from the Google Doc because of that copy. I had a guy on the call in the workshop last night who rebuilt his entire agency website in half an hour using the tools that we teach by having a chat, having a conversation, not I'm going to tell you what to do, but having a conversation with the AI, working out where the gaps were, those unknown unknowns. Sometimes we don't know, especially when it comes to data analysis. I've learned so much about statistics in the last year that I didn't know. Yeah. And the AI is telling me, I've done all this analysis and I've got these p-values and whatever and built all these charts for you. And like, okay, do that. Yeah, that's good.
And I think Fred from Optimize actually explains this best. Is it's not a Google Ads freelancer or Google Ads agency. It's not you versus AI. It's you versus agencies who are using AI or Google Ads managers who are using AI. Or it's not your business versus AI. It's you versus business owners who are using their skills and AI. And it's all about leverage. And and that's what I was saying. It's just if you can just start to, I think now the first couple of years, like the last 2 years, it's probably been okay to sit on the sidelines. But I think there's been a real change in 2025. That you do need to either get involved or you will be left behind.
We've been through these cycles before, right? It was totally okay back in 2005 to say mobile, don't know. Yeah. And then the iPhone came out, and then 2010 was going to be the year of mobile. 2011 was the year of mobile. 2012, and there came a point where you just had to build a mobile website. You couldn't sit on the sidelines. It's just that the timelines are so much shorter now because everything's happening so much faster. You can't stick your head in the sand and go, a computer's never going to beat me at this thing. I'm always going to be better. There is, Ethan Mollick calls it the jagged frontier. And what he means by that is AI is going to be amazing at some tasks and absolutely terrible at others, but you don't know in advance what it's going to be good at, what it's going to be terrible at. It's got this jagged edge to it. And you find out by playing with it. You just have to experiment and play. I've got this task. And maybe it can't do the task, and maybe it can't do it as well as you, but it can do bits of that task incredibly well. And this was another big insight I had the other day was all these little things that I'm automating that I'm getting AI and automation to help with. There's a distinction there, but we'll worry about that later. Even if it's only a thing that took me 10 minutes. Okay, it doesn't really seem, are you really going to sit there for half an hour to build a thing that would have taken 10 minutes? Well, if you're doing that thing more than once a week, then it starts to become worth it. But also, these things can run in parallel. And so I can sit down at 9 o'clock in the morning and maybe there's 50 things that used to take me 10 minutes. And all of a sudden by 10 past 9, they're all done because the AI has done all of those in parallel. Whereas we can't do that. We can't do 50 things at once. That was a big moment.
All right. So button clicker, rule designer, target setter, script designer, we've spoken about that. Insight storyteller, I know I sort of stole some thunder there, but can you further explain what you mean there in regards to crafting narratives from AI insights?
So there's this chart that Avinash used to share. So it goes data, information, insights, action, expected business outcome. And what he always used to say was that the businesses don't want you to puke data on them, right? They don't need more dashboards, because when we give somebody a dashboard full of stuff, what we're really saying to them is there's a ton of insight to be had from this, but I'm now throwing all that work on you. And our job as freelancers, as agencies, or whatever it might be, is to have those insights based on so we turn data into information, into useful information. Usually that means some sort of picture, chart, image, something to help us pull the inside out, because we're not very good, us little humans, at looking at a big wall of numbers. But clients don't want insights either. The insight tells you what actions you need to take. And yes, okay, it's useful sometimes to go to a client and say, you take these actions, I'll take these actions. But what they really want to know is, if we do these things, what's going to happen? What's the expected business outcome? What happens to my profit? What happens to my stock? What happens to the thing? That's what they really want to know. So that's the purpose of having the insight. So we can now use AI to help us find those insights in all of that data. If we feed in, and context is everything here. So we have to give the AI enough context to be able to find that insight. So we got to feed in the right data, maybe in the right format, along with the right prompt. And as you said, we can use AI to help us write the prompt, because again, we don't necessarily know what we're asking for. We don't know advanced statistics. We don't know what the AI is able to do. The AI can go and write code very quickly to analyze all of that data in all of these different statistical ways, all of which pulls back different things that it or we can learn from that. But then it can put all of that together, synthesize all of that, and turn that into a paragraph for us incredibly quickly. And if we know the data set that we're working with, if we know that, okay, this is search terms, and I always analyze search terms the same way, then we can start to automate that, so that every Monday morning at 8 a.m., we walk in, and here's the same analysis. But the first time we do it, we need the creativity of AI. We want to find out all of those things that we don't know. But once we can sort of boil that down to a system, like, actually, that's really, I'd never heard that thing in stats, but can you do that for me every Monday? Now we can automate that. And so every Monday morning we walk in, and here's a whole bunch of what I call 80% insights. They're not perfect. They're not as good as you could do if you sat there for 2 hours and trawled through all of that data, but you got them delivered for a fraction of a cent in a couple of minutes, basically for free on tap. And now your job as the human is to take that and craft it, to join that together with what you know about that particular client, with what you know about their business, what you know about what's happening in the world, and why conversions drop because they screwed up something on the website that the AI doesn't know about. Your job is to take all these 80% done insights and then craft that into a narrative, into a story, into a reason, and start to predict what is going to happen. Like, okay, now what are the actions we take? What are the expected business outcomes that have come from that? But using AI smartly in an automated fashion to help create the 80% insight. We're never going to copy, well, not never, but never's a big word. Not yet. Are we going to copy paste that insight, stick it in an email, send it to the client without reading it? Definitely not. But we use it as a starting point. It solves the blank page problem. Give us a bunch of those insights just to get us going. And you maybe attack the problem from a few different angles, because that's such an underappreciated thing with AI, is that it's not going to get offended if you ask it. If you say, like, well, that wasn't good enough, I need 10 more. Another 10. Give me 10.
And give me another 10 again.
With this little angle, and do it again. And the other big underappreciated thing is you can pick up where you left off. Before we hit record, I was telling you that I built actually this page that our listeners are looking at right now, this automation page. I one-shotted that last night. I went to the tool that I use and said, could you build this page? And and here's the image, extract stuff from the image, write some text, boom, put it on the website. And I walked away. Had some stuff to do, and the kids needed me. I walked back in this morning, and there was the page ready to go. And I one more prompt just to make a couple of tweaks and move things a little bit. And it was done. Post it on the website. But it's quite happy to sit there for 12 hours, patiently waiting for you to come back and finish the task. It's not a problem.
The other thing, and this was the aha moment for me when I really saw the power of this. I mean, I knew there was the power there, but when I'd really, I guess, the thing what you were talking about before is that AI doesn't get offended. Like, if you tell it the wrong thing and you go, no, this is actually what I needed. And then you go, no, this is what I actually needed. So I was sitting in your first class, and just that tool you gave me to get the AI to write the prompt for you. I had a big data analysis. The situation was we had a client. We'd moved their Google Ads spending to more incremental growth, focusing on new customers. And their CPA was going up, which, was to be expected. But obviously the client wanted to know, look, are we on the right track? we both had this feel that yes, we were. So we got basically, I said, give me all of how much you've been spending on Meta and Google every single month. What are your signups every single month? I then imported Google's signups.
Yeah.
And AI basically took this whole sheet of numbers because I was just looking at it like paralysis, like what do you see here? And it came with these new formulas, and I asked the question, show me the formula, all of those things that worked out.
Yeah.
And what was able to show a trend line that since we made these changes in the account in February, the month after, yes, CPA went up 19%. But for the following 2 months, it's dropped by 5%. Now it's dropped by 10%. So basically, that showed us the trend line of what we're looking at. Because we've gone for new clients, yes, it's going to go up, but that every month where the optimizations is going down.
Yeah.
And AI did that in ChatGPT. I think it took about 10 minutes of me just giving it some different prompts, asking some questions, which would have taken me I'd probably still be there looking at the analysis, trying to spot it all through. But then it also followed up with, now what are the recommendations? And the recommendations were invest more in Google Ads, but keep this spend in Meta. And that was the other thing I loved about it too, is because obviously I'm Google Ads facing first.
Yep.
It took my bias out of it.
Yeah.
So that I was going to the client, look, this is the workings. This is not my bias. This is, and gave them the prompt and said, if you want to play around with it and get some extra information in it as well. But we both came to that same conclusion. And that's what I loved about it.
And can you give me a chart for that now, please? Oh, great.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, actually, like that's okay. But here's the client's logo. Could you make the chart in the client's logo's colors? I don't know what to call those colors. Yeah. I'm going to give you the logo. You figure out what colors they are. Give me that chart. Oh, thanks. Right. Copy that into the thing. Give me 3 other charts.
And I think this is an area, it's this insight storyteller level. That's where everyone can actually do, even if they don't want to go through the scripts part, going through this part of data analysis and, reporting analysis just in ChatGPT, because you're just using normal language, asking it questions, re-asking it questions. I think that's the place where everyone should at least be going.
And there are some wonderful books. There's a great one. I will get the name slightly wrong because I can't quite see it on the bookshelf, but Storytelling with Data by Cole Nassblaumer or something like that. She's amazing. I demoed this on one of the calls the other day as well. Of back in the day, I did a 3-hour course with her permission, teaching some of the concepts in there, plus Edward Tufte and a whole bunch of other data visualization stuff. We'd go through exercises like, here's a terrible chart. How would you make this chart better? That was like 3 hours of training, and building a good chart in Google Sheets or Excel can sometimes be a very fiddly thing. Guess what?
Yeah.
The AI understands all of that. So you can actually tell it to role play and say, you are Cole Nassblaumer. Sorry, Cole, for messing your name up. Please create me a chart in her style that's clean and simple and modern. And use the client colors. And like you say, give me 3 more, give me 3 more, give me 3 more. Let's try this. Let's try something else. It's so unbelievably flexible. It can do so many things that you don't know that it can do, which is a great reason to tie it all together, to ask it to ask you questions.
Yes.
What's the actual goal you're going for here? Okay, now figure out some ways to achieve that rather than telling it what you think it should do.
All right. So there's another 2 levels we've got to go into, which is
agent.
I think you're saying that the agent conductor, which we can do, and then there's the one that you think we're not there yet. So how about you take us through these last 2?
Okay, so briefly, the agent conductor, you've heard it in many, many places. By now, 2025 is the year of AI agent. But what is an agent? Most people can't really agree on that. But basically, just think of it as a bit of AI that you give it a goal and it will go looping around and around and around, trying different things, which sounds scary maybe, until it achieves the goal that you've set it. So you say, go do this thing, and it goes, the user wants me to do this thing. I think I'll do this. I'll do some statistical analysis. I'll create this chart. I'll write some big, and it will complete that. So what I've been doing over the past few months, a year, is starting to pull data out of Google. So I use scripts for that so I can get the data out, and then building agents that can go play with that data in different ways. So like you just said, the insight storyteller, you don't need to write scripts for that. You could just go to Google, you could download your data, and you could feed it into ChatGPT and do exactly what you did with your client the other day. But if we start to build little agents for things, for stuff that we know we're going to use often, we can start to automate a lot of that process. So we can automate the collection of data, just basically saving us a bunch of pain in the bum, copying and pasting stuff. So let's get this data, let's use the same quote over and over again. Let's do this, let's pull this all in. And now, little agent, could you go and do this thing? Could you find new negative keyword suggestions from the latest search term data? So here's all the data you need. Here's all the information about the client website. We had to go get that once, but you understand the client website now. You understand all the keywords we're using, all the ad copy we're using, all the landing pages, based on everything that you know, the business logic, what that CPA needs to be to be profitable, all of that stuff. Could you just each week, please suggest new negative keywords? And then there's what AI can do, you can't do in a Google Sheet, you can't do with a formula, which is if it suggests that dog should be a new negative keyword, it's able to then expand on that and go, well, if dog, you should have dogs, and maybe cat and cats and puppy and puppies, and all of that stuff that we all had to do manually, because you cannot build a Google Sheet formula that says turn dog into dogs and puppies, but large language models are great at that. So, okay, one button, expand that list out, give me 20 new negative keyword ideas. Double check that against all of those recent search terms and see if we did make that a new negative, how much would that have saved us? Would it have cost us 1 million conversions? No, great. So I think the future is going to be not having to do all of the work necessarily, but being the conductor of the orchestra. So you don't have to go and learn all the instruments. You stand there and, this agent, could you go do that, please? And could you do it's very much like being a manager. Dan Shipper of the Every newsletter calls it the allocation economy. You're allocating resources and tasks. You understand which AI models, are good at different things. And so you say, can you do this? Some of those you'll build yourself, maybe, or like scripts. There'll be a whole bunch that you can just take off the shelf, use somebody else's model. That's totally fine as a place to get started. And can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? And you'll be the conductor of this orchestra of agents, which is very much like running a team. And we're sort of we're in the very, very early days of that. It is possible now, but it's not common.
So would you say a real scenario could be for people listening who are managing multiple accounts is that you could set up, so you're saying set up your script, so let's just say for your keywords, you could have an agent that is your keyword agent, which is giving you negative recommendations. So you're still getting that outside of Google Ads, and then you're just copying those lists of negatives and putting into Google Ads. That's kind of the easiest way that people could go through that path at the moment.
Exactly. And in the very near future, as we build trust in these agents, trust, I think, is the key thing here. So you do it manually, you do all that copying and pasting. The 20th time you do that copying and pasting, for some people, the second time they do it, you're just going to be like, just do it for me. But once you've seen it do the right thing over and over, back when we hired a whole bunch of people in the Philippines, we had this thing we called me, we, you. Okay, so I'm going to do it, and then we're going to do it together. And now you're going to do it. And once I've seen you do it 3, 4, 5 times, and you've done it flawlessly, and we have a system for catching errors, once I know you're doing it, I don't want to sit with you and do it together every time. I'm just going to let you get on and do it. It's kind of the same with these AI agents. Once you know it can do it, once you've built the trust, then you're going to flick the switch, press the button and say, just add those negs for me every week, please. And I can think of so many ways that we could use these agents within a Google Ads agency, landing page suggestions, bidding suggestions, budget suggestions, like all.
Which is one that I've just built. I've literally just built an AI agent, which I'm testing at the moment, which is purely around that, where people can just put in their website and it'll give recommendations based off all data analysis that we've got that just go, look, this is the inputs, give us the recommendations on this landing page.
I was chatting to a member of my new mastermind last night, his first call, and we were talking about how so many small business owners, that's you if you're listening, one thing so many people care about is just, I just want to be that guy. I don't really care what else happens, but I cannot, back in the day, we would get those phone calls and emails going, why is my ad below his? Doesn't Google know I've got 8 stores and he's only got 1 and I'm better and blah, 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 all those fun things. But building a competitive analysis agent, so, okay, let's agree on who your top 6 competitors are online. Now we can send this agent off to read through everything on all of those websites, to monitor them if something changes, to analyze them for strategy gaps. Like, these 3 are all saying this thing, these 2 are saying this, you say this. Like, here's the gap in all of this. Here's the positioning you could take. There are so many ways to use that. A pricing analysis. Here are your top competitors. Here are your top 10 products. Let's go see, and let's be alerted and monitored. So right now it's very similar to the early days of scripts. We're doing these checks, we're monitoring stuff, we're being alerted. Somebody tell me when something does something. What we're going to move to, which is level 6, is the autonomous AI agents, where we've built the trust. And maybe this is the end of this year, maybe it's 2027. I don't know, but it's probably somewhere in that time frame of giving an AI, an agent, or whatever, the goal, and then just letting it go and do its thing.
Yeah. Okay. So let's, you don't want to be looking too far ahead in the future because it's changing a lot.
Pretty impossible.
Well, let's run through some scenarios here. So
Okay.
for the freelancer or the smaller agency who's worried that their whole income stream is going to dry up and AI is going to take it over, what is your message to them? Is it it's purely is it something they should be worried about, or what can the steps they can take?
You mentioned Fred before, and I agree. I have been saying this on stages since 2018. Your job is not being taken by AI. Your job is being taken by someone who knows how to use AI. It is on you to be one of those people that knows how to use these new tools, like automated rules in 2011, like scripts in 2012, 2013. It's just a new tool that we have to learn how to use and how to work with. The old trope, work smarter, not harder. But it is so important now. You have to be aiming at sort of 20, 30% efficiency gains every year. I think if you're not 30% more efficient by the end of 2025, you're not necessarily out of business instantly. But how do you then compete with the freelancer that, like you said, the freelancer that can take on 50, 100 accounts and not run them the way the old Yellow Pages team used to run them, which is just by looking at 2 numbers once a week and then maybe pressing a button, and that's managing an account, but still doing the huge amount of work that a good freelancer does to run an account properly. But they just can do that at scale because all these things that they have to used to do in series that all took time can now all be done in parallel. All of that can be fed through the freelancer. They can look at that, make that last 10, 20%, the judgment call, add some taste, add some experience, add some real world knowledge, and make some tweaks. Yep, carry on. This is the conductor bit, right? Of just, you do this, you do this, you do this. Bring it all back to me tomorrow. Keep going. Right now, new team, new client. Here's what I want you to do. Yeah. We have to just achieve so much more, and you will not be able to compete on price with someone that's doing that. So it's going to go one of two ways. In the short term, I think many people will double the number of clients they work with and try and charge the same. And that'll be very profitable for some people to do. My accountant has said that publicly on some podcasts, that's what he plans to do with accounting. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, mate. You've told me it costs you 1/10 of what it used to cost you, but you're still charging me the same. Yeah. Please listen to this transcript and please have a look at my fees. That's going to put downward pricing pressure on the market for sure. So we've been playing this, my old agency, back in 2017, we started this thought experiment of, we said then 3 years time, so 2020. So I was wrong about the timing. I think I was right about the general direction. I just get the timing wrong. We said back then, what if execution has to be free and we can only charge for strategy? How do we start to do that now with our existing clients? Because execution is not going to be valued in the future as much as it is now. And clients are always going to need, they have never been more overwhelmed, small business owners. They have never been more frantic. They are always going to need help. And what they need help with, I need to keep growing. I need more, more leads, more sales, more profit, preferably. That need is not going away. So the job that we do is not going away. The tasks that make up that job will change. Some of those tasks will go away. Some of those tasks will change unrecognizably. A few of those tasks will stay, but the job doesn't change. And so, yes, I think you're dead right. You have to lean into this. You have to learn new skills. You have to start wandering through the haunted house and understand what the skills are that are available to everybody right now. The future is here. It's just not evenly distributed.
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying. And I've never, even when it started coming in, I've never been worried about the future of my role because I knew that my role would just be different. I mean, and I'm working in an industry that didn't even exist when I graduated university. So I've got that, I've got that context of knowing that the role's going to be different. I think the only people in this industry that I'm concerned for is, as you said, the people who are just focusing on the tasks and not looking at automating the task, because I'm finding, month on month, my role and my discussions with the clients is moving more and more to strategy as opposed to, what are the optimizations that I've done and what are the things that are happening, because a lot of them are just happening automated.
And clients never really cared about quality score and impression share.
No.
But so
No,
many
exactly right.
freelancers would have those conversations because, oh, look at this, look at all the
Yeah.
techie stuff. And the client, I don't, again, data,
Well,
no.
I'm just
Information,
looking at my bank
no.
account. Yeah.
Yeah. Insights, no.
Yeah.
Action, I don't even care about that. Expected business outcome, that's what I care about.
Yeah.
And the good thing for everybody in this industry is we are used to change.
Yes.
Google made how many changes to Google Ads last year? It's dozens, if not hundreds. And if you work in SEO, same thing. We're used to that. Now, if you work in insurance and you're doing the same job that you've been doing for the last 10 years, this amount of change would probably be terrifying. So we have that going for us in this industry. We're used to changing. We are relatively comfortable with being uncomfortable. I just think now's the time to lean into that, to upscale, and to not use the excuse of, mate, it's easy for you to say, but I'm redlining. I'm at 110% capacity week on week on week. I don't have time to learn. I'm like, you don't have time not to. You have to carve out that time. Stick half an hour a week on your calendar, non-negotiable. Try and extend that to 2 hours if you can, or a couple of half-hour spots. But you can't use that excuse anymore. It's never been easier to learn anything. I mean, your channel is a testament to that, right? You teach so much stuff that people get so much value from. It's never been easier to learn anything, but you have to carve out that time to do it. The time isn't magically going to appear.
And I've been strategic in this in my own business this year. Like, we purposely restructured our wage team by 50%, and it's replaced it in AI. That was me going, I'm just going to do this because as exactly right, because we get so busy with different stuff. And I go, well, a great way of changing this and me adopting it is I go, well, I don't have that staff member to call on now. I've got to use these AI tools to do it. So yeah, it really has supercharged. And this is my encouragement to everyone as well. Like, I'm good at Google Ads and all of those things, but this is a new learning curve I'm going through because I just see that we've got to do this. And if you don't start implementing these things into your own business and your own structures and your own strategies now, you may not have a business in the future.
Absolutely. There's two points I'll make on that. One is that beginner mindset. It's not being afraid to feel stupid again. Like, if you've been doing this for 5 years, 10 years, you can't, oh yeah, I know this, I know everything. Yeah. That's very comfortable, but it certainly in this world, like 10 years experience isn't 10 years experience. If you're running a Google Ads account the same way you did even 2-3 years ago, never mind 10 years ago, you're doing it wrong. The second thing I'll say is a line I used on stage the other day in Amsterdam is 5% or 100%. So think about the revenue that your business made or you personally made last year, then take 5% of that. If you're willing to invest 5% in understanding this new world, which I think is a once-in-a-generation kind of technology, I think AI changes everything. I think it will be everywhere and as ubiquitous as electricity. So invest 5% of your top line in revolutionizing your business, your personal skill set, your career, or you risk 100% of that number. You risk not being in business in 3 years' time. Maybe sooner, maybe longer. I'm often wrong about time frames, but I'm quite good at looking into the future and seeing the path. And what I love doing better than anything is running 4 hills into the future and then coming back and teaching what I've found. That's been my MO for 20 years now. And this I strongly believe in. All the geeks in Silicon Valley, everybody's throwing huge gobs of money at this. Why? Because they believe this is the future. They wouldn't be spending hundreds of billions of dollars if they thought this was a fad.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think also too, the biggest thing, you mentioned all the changes in Google Ads. I mean, I know a message I've been giving, in a lot of my videos and LinkedIn and all the different posts is that whenever Google releases a new change, always come back to why that change is happening. And we can be sometimes as Google Ads specialists so focused on what's happening inside of the Google Ads dashboard that we're not seeing what's happening outside. And the whole thing is the very nature of search is changing. That's why Google is making these changes. They're not just throwing up these changes just because they want to. It's because the way that people are interacting with search is changing. This is going to become even more acutely supercharged when Gemini 2.0 is released quickly, because then the actual way that people do Google search is going to start teaching, is going to move conversational. So the general user is going to actually get used to this whole conversational style of search as opposed to individual searches. So very, very timely time for you to come on. Hey, Mike, we could keep talking, I know, for a long time about all of this stuff, but we will wrap it up there. What I will do, like we said at the start, if you go down into the description, there's a website there. I highly, highly recommend Mike's teaching on this. That's something that I don't say lightly. As I said, I'm actually in the course at the moment, and I just think any Google Ads specialist who is not learning in this area is really doing themselves and their business a disservice. So highly, highly recommend Mike and everything you teach. Thank you for everything you teach and you bring to the industry. And It's great to have you on for a third time.
Aaron, thanks for having me. It's been a delight.